Alright, it's Henry again, and this is the second work in progress video for my 172 scale Nero. And at this point I'm going to be doing all the test fitting and assembling the kit. I've already drilled all the holes and made the necessary modifications for the joints and stuff, and my own modifications for swapping out the trainer and standard parts. So I'm pretty much just going to be assembling the kit on camera for you. So start off at the feet. The feet on this kit are unique along with the torso, and like I mentioned earlier in some of the previous videos, that G-System gives us the option of making either the standard Nero or the Nero trainer type. And as such, we have two different sets of feet because the kit is molded in colored resin. We have blue feet and red feet. And I wanted a way to easily switch between the blue and red parts whenever I wanted to swap out to the different versions of the Nero. So you can go on Flipmeister's YouTube channel. I'll put a link in the description. He's already worked on this kit, and I'm basically doing the exact same thing for the feet that he did. So thank you, Flipmeister, for basically showing me a really good way to do the feet, because I'm basically just copying you. Anyway, what I've done is I've bought some magnets. Went to a website, K&J Magnetics, sells a lot of basically magnets in any shape and size you could possibly want. Really strong neodymium magnets. Good stuff. And I've used those to make the parts of the feet that need to be changed out magnetic, so you can just pull them on and put them back on. Anyway, this is the toe joint. A lot of the joints in this kit, the major joints anyway, have are ratchet joints, and they have little springs like this with a little spiky thing on it, and that's going to go down in there. And some of these joints are actually kind of difficult. I find that these ratchet joints that G-System has used, a lot of them are either too tight or not tight enough. Most of them are too tight. Anyway, they give us a plastic rod that's going to go through this hole here. And there we go. And that was actually not very easy the first couple of times I tried that, because they give us a 3mm rod, and I used a 3mm drill bit, and that was a really tight fit, and I had to actually widen the hole a little bit just so that the rod would even fit through there. I have modified this part. It's got a little piece of ply plate here that I've cemented and super glued on, and it's got a magnet glued onto the bottom of it there. This is going to go in the front half of the foot, like so. You flip it on the other side, that's where the part pegs in, and then I also drilled a hole so that the magnet could peek through. Not necessarily for the magnetization or whatever, but just because to give the magnet actual space, because there's not a whole lot of space to work with. Sorry, this is a very thin part. And then here's the bottom of the foot, and I basically just drilled a very shallow hole there for the magnet to sit in, glued that in, and now it just goes on like so. And whenever I want to switch out the parts, I can just pull that off, switch over to the red part, and do the same thing. Voila. Easy as cake. So let's see, same thing basically with the back half of the foot. Got the gray part that goes on the bottom here, glued a magnet, drilled a hole, same drill. This is the ankle joint here. I've drilled a hole and glued a magnet in on the bottom there, and it's got a spring for the ankle joint. There's actually a couple springs, and another one of these little spiky things that's going to go on there. So got your little ratchet joint. Let's see, main part of the ankle joint here, there's actually another one of those spring things down inside there, but it won't come out. It doesn't really need to come out, so it's no problem, but I couldn't get it back out once I put it in there. So that part goes in there. That's got a ratchet joint on the bottom there and ratcheting stuff at the top here. Drilled a hole through the middle of it. Then we're going to insert this little light gray piece. That's just going to go straight through the middle. Make sure everything's lined up. Oh wait, no, I have to put this in here first. And then this goes straight through there. And if you line it up just right, there we go. Okay. Make sure I push that in all the way. Alright, so the ankle joint is assembled. Very, very stiff joints. So, at least for the ankles anyway, you're not going to have to worry about him rocking back or forth or anything like that, because these are very, very stiff joints. Anyway, magnet goes on the bottom of that. Clips on like so, easy enough. And then I can at least use the blue part. Got a little, I inserted a peg here and glued that in, and that's just going to go in there like that. And let's see, we got some more armor parts to go on the top here. Black part there. I didn't bother pinning or using magnets or anything on those. Just I'll glue those in when I do final assembly on the kit. A little gray part here. Clips onto that. And then last but not least, piece of armor. Again, I'll just glue that on the final assembly, and you've got a foot done. Alright, so now onto the legs. We've got not really an inner frame, but just like some, it's like half of an inner frame. I've installed a couple magnets right here. I could have pinned these parts in, but this part is so thin, like it's like a millimeter thick down inside this area, so I decided to use magnets instead. This is a large part of the lower leg, and here's like the inner frame of the knee part. I do have a peg in there that I just inserted, so that goes in there, and the two magnets line up just like so. And if I find, so far it's been strong enough to hold up to the weight of the kit, but if I find that it doesn't want to hold up when I do final assembly, I can always just glue those together, but the magnets seem to be holding up pretty well. Also, there's a poly cap down inside there for the ankle joint. And next up is the knees. Here's the calves, I guess. They've just got a little yellow vent piece that goes down inside there. And I'll put one side on, like so, and before I put the other side on, I need to assemble this knee joint. And basically it's kind of like on a master grade, just two halves that go together, but it's got two of these ratcheting joints inside it. So I need to very, very carefully get these in here. Actually, I need one of these first. This is part of the thigh. And that'll go in there like so. And then this goes in. And this little piece is going to go in behind it just like that. There we go. And we just put the two halves together, and then this is going to line up with that right there, and plug the other side on like so. Here, snap into place. Then for the thigh, it gets a little bit tricky here. We got some more parts. It's these are the plastic parts. They gave us a portion of their plastic inner frame that they use for some of their kits. And let's see, I believe that goes there. I believe this goes here. Where'd that polycap go? There we go. Polycap goes here, and then that fits on like so. Okay. There, oops. The polycap's not quite lined up. There we go. Well, maybe. There. Alright. Now we got it. That came off. I may end up having to glue that on. Anyway. He's got like the sliding armor. Like you see on a lot of master grades and sometimes like real grades and stuff, where the armor on the thigh slides up and down when you bend the knee. So it's actually got that feature. You've got some plastic parts that are going to attach to the thigh and the knee, just like so. Attach that on there, and then the same thing on cat hair. Same thing on the back. Alright, and then we've just got a little bit of armor over here. Thigh armor for the front. Goes on like so. Thigh armor for the back. It's got 2 holes. Goes on like so. We got some detail on the back of the legs. There's a little yellow circular detail that goes in that hole, and then this bluish gray part goes on top of it. We've got this thing goes here. I'm supposed to, there we go, and then a little light gray part that goes in just like that. And I actually forgot a part. There's a little blue-gray part that's supposed to like go in right there. It's kind of a pain to fit in, but there we go, good enough. Knee armor. So far it's held up fine without pinning or magnets. I'll probably just glue it in when I do final assembly. So knee armor goes on like that, and I do apologize if I go off frame for any of this stuff, because I'm concentrating more on the parts than I am on the actual model kit. Hip joint is pretty simple. It's just 2 halves with a little ratcheting spring thingy. We got another one, goes down inside the hip like that. Got the ratchet joint here. Okay. And then just pop the other half on there, like so. There's a little light gray part that goes on right there. I'm probably just going to glue that when I do final assembly. It's a small thin ring that actually goes over these plastic parts. Don't really know what it does, because it certainly is not holding those parts together, but it's in the instructions. And then the little polycap we put inside there will support the hip joint. And we are done with one leg. Actually, hold up, we're not. Where is it? Beam saber is stored in the knee. So we got a beam saber, and it's just going to go right down in there and sit inside that little space like that. Now the leg is finished. Alright, next up is the waist section. Now that's relatively simple actually. Big giant waist crotch section here. The hip joints, as you guessed, use these little spring ratchet joint things. You got 2 halves that are going to be sandwiched together. You got basically a ratchet joint for each hip, the right and left, and it pokes through on this side. The the leg is going to be attached to this right here, and then it's got the little spring ratchet joint thingy that rotates around, and you just put those together like so, and they slide up inside here. if I can line it up properly. There, just like that. And then for detail, we've just got these superficial parts that go on the outside, just like so. And then we got this part that goes on the top. That's just a solid piece. It's really loose now, but I'll just glue that in place once I do final assembly. So next up is the skirt armor. Start with the back skirt. I got it right here, underside. Underside detail, just installed a little peg right there, drilled a hole, fits in like a dream. Got these two little details that plug in right there, if I don't drop them. Come on, go. This video's long enough as it is. Go. Whatever, you get the point. And then there's this little thingy right here. Again, drilled a couple holes, installed a couple pegs. That's going to go right there, and the back skirt attaches to the waist section just like that. It's actually kind of loose. I'm probably going to have to glue that in when I do final assembly. Side skirt, very, very simple. Outer armor, inner frame-ish looking thing. Simple little joint. You got this little light gray part that lines up with the hole there, and another plastic rod, and it just goes straight through there, and just like that. It actually doesn't attach here though, it attaches to the lower torso, so you'll see that when the kit is assembled. And then it just pegs in right there like so. Oops. Again, glue is going to be helpful when I do final assembly. Front skirts, also super simple. The outer armor parts, the inner frame or underside detail, not nearly as detailed as the back skirt, unfortunately. Not to scrap some panel lines on that or something. So it fits in like that, and then you just got this little clip thingy right here. Clips on like that, and that simply clips on to this thing. So front skirts just sort of hang out like so. And then you got your two back skirts, and that completes the waist section. Next up is the torso. We've got a large lower torso part here. Right there is where the side skirts connect, by the way. And got the upper torso. I've already put in the ratchet joints for the shoulders, so the shoulder joint is actually going to connect to this thing. And we've got some areas down here for the wires. I'm not going to do the wiring in this video. I've actually had to kind of redo the wiring, and I'm going to save that for a later video because I'm having to buy some new wires and switches, but that's a long story that I'll get into later. Two big blocks that just sort of fit together like so, and then you can plug in the lower torso. Very, very simple, very, very easy. Cockpit hatch plugs in like that. This part, that's where the battery case is supposed to go for the LED, by the way. Plugs in like that. No pinning at all so far. This is all just holding together the way it was straight out of the box. So this is holding together very, very nicely. Let's see. Then it's basically just little detail stuff. Like for the collar, you got some little detail parts in here. That's going to go there. The switch for the LED actually goes right there. And actually that's part of the switch for the LED. More stuff. There's a lot of stuff here in the collar area that's just detail for detail's sake. Let's see, there's another little thingy here. This tiny little gray piece goes down in here, oops, like that. And then the main collar armor goes on like so. The neck, which it's got holes in the bottom of the neck for the wires to run up to the head. It's got a like a little back and forth swivel, not swivel, just sort of rocking motion. It's very, very loose though, so I think in the end I'm just going to end up gluing that in place because I don't really need his head to rock back and forth very much. And that's going to be put into place there. And basically, last but not least, are the chest vents. These are going to have photo etch like actual vents inside them made out of metal. So yeah, these are another thing that's going to have to be glued in because they're not very stable straight out of the box. So they're just sort of being held in very, very loosely by friction. At this point, they're probably going to fall out as soon as I put it down. Maybe not. Another part here, this plugs together like that and plugs in sort of up under the armpit. See, there go the chest vents, and that is going to go on top like so. That's these two gray parts are what's going to hold this shoulder joint onto the torso. So those are really, really important joints. And then we just copy the same thing on the other side, and I'm pretty sure, like, it's going to be a pain in the ass to switch out between the red torso and the blue torso. Why can't I find this hole? But it's doable. Like, it's not something I'm going to do often, but it's definitely possible. So I feel very, very comfortable about switching between standard Nero and Nero trainer type at this point. Although it's something that's going to be very tedious and time consuming, so I don't see myself doing it very often. And then we've just got these like little tiny detail parts which are going to go down in there. Those also have little metal parts that are going to go inside there for just extraneous detail. Alright, and the construction of the head is not too awfully difficult. It does have a very rudimentary inner frame, if you can even call it that. It's really more just a apparatus for the LEDs to attach to. This part goes together like this. The faceplate clips on like so. And then we get a clear part for the visor. It's textured. I really kind of wish they had made a one of those heat pressed clear parts to go over this, because I don't know, it just sort of bothers me that this clear part has like mechanical detail all over it. Anyway, that sort of just stays in there with friction. Probably have to end up gluing that. And that's like the inner frame, I guess, of the head. This faceplate wiggles up and down. Definitely gonna have to glue that. Here's the LEDs right here. I've disconnected them from the little plug that used to be attached to the other end because I'm redoing everything. But see, that part just pops right off. Anyway, the big LED, the small LED comes up through this little hole right here that goes to the forehead. The big LED goes in through that hole right there, and as you can see, these wires are very quickly getting very jumbled up, and they're way too long. I don't know why G-System made these wires so obnoxiously long, because there's like no room for them to go when you've got such a small space to work with. So whatever, just gonna have to deal with it. Anyway, put this back together. Outer shell for the head. Here's the main part here. You've got two halves that go on the sides like that, and then likewise on the other side give you something like this. You got two white vents that go on the cheeks, one there and one there. It'll go on, there we go. Got a antenna. It's actually a metal rod with resin molded around it, so that's kind of cool. I've seen that done a few times, but never actually had it included on a kit I've bought before. And then we got the little Mohawk camera. The LED actually goes into this part right here, and there's actually a small mechanical thingy. I can't seem to find it anywhere, but there's a small gray piece that goes in here for like mechanical detail, and then a clear lens that goes over that. So it's actually a really cool looking effect. Anyway, that goes in there, plugs into the top here, and then the inner frame bits are going to go up in there. Unfortunately, they don't really like peg into anything. They just sort of sit there, so that's definitely got to be glued on the final kit. And then this little hole right here is where the wires run through, and it'll all just sort of it's all just sort of be connected like that. Anyway, you get the idea. It's not pretty right now, but once it all gets glued together, it'll be a lot more attractive. Okay, on to the arms. This is a shoulder joint. If you built perfect grade RX-78-2, this looks very, very familiar because I'm pretty sure G-System just modified it and recast it. Ratchet joint again. It's going to go down, oops, inside there. And then we've got this part. It's going to go in like so. Now we've actually got a bolt. We got a bolt and a nut that are going to hold this together. Line up the hole, insert that down in there, put the nut on this side, and then I've got a little hex wrench, which G-System did not include and did not tell us we would need, so I had to hunt one down, but luckily I did have one. So tighten that up, and there we go. Shoulder joint done. We've got a small poly cap that's going to go right there. More plastic parts for the inner frame of the bicep. The arm basically has a full inner frame. Let's see, there's some other parts here. These are some little polycap looking things. I don't know, G-System says they're polycaps in the instructions, but they're really weird polycaps. They don't feel like Bandai polycaps. Anyway, it's going to go in there, and then sandwich those two parts together. Come on. There we go. Alright. Then, I'm going to slide on this bicep armor here. Wait, I think I might be doing it wrong. Nope, I was doing it right. There we go. Okay. And I'm missing. Oh no, there it is. This piece goes on like so. Then we got to assemble the forearm. Let's see, actually this goes on first. It's got a double jointed elbow. So this is going to go on here. It's going to connect to that poly cap. There's no sliding armor on the elbow joint, although there is like some this little piston looking thing sort of moves around a little bit. Alright, we're going to install another spring, another ratchet joint. It's going to go in like so. Sometimes these things aren't so easy to get in, unfortunately. This is why I tell people not to choose G-System as their first resin kit, because I've built a couple dozen resin kits and this is really frustrating for me. Anyway, that goes in there somehow, and put the other half in like so. Put that piece of armor back on that fell off. Let's see, we got the wrist joint here, and that's got a little poly cap in there, but that doesn't hold the wrist in at all. I actually had to use a peg and a hole so the hands are going to be pegged in. Anyway, that plugs on there. The armor plugs into the back here. See, that little polycap just fell off, but anyway, you can see the hole that I drilled for the wrist peg. The polycap now just sort of acts as a cushion. These parts don't really pin or plug in anywhere. They're just sort of hold in by friction, so obviously I'm going to have to glue those in when I do final assembly. A little armor part goes right there. Another little armor part goes on here. Elbow armor, I did pin into place. Put some pins there. It actually connects to the inner frame. This bicep armor definitely wants to keep falling off. And you got the hand right here. It's literally just two halves. The whole hand is one solid part, and then the hand backing. And I installed a peg on that, so it just plugs in like so. And you've got an arm. Alright, the shoulder armor isn't too terribly complex, but it does have a ratcheting joint in it, namely for the Nero trainer parts. So this is the main part, the other main part. We've got two small little plastic ratchet thingies right here. They're going to fit together like so. And we've got a small spring. It's going to fit on the end of that and go down inside here. And then we have to very carefully fit that inside there. Till it lines up with that. There we go. Alright, and you can already hear the ratcheting. This is actually the ratcheting joint in the kit that works the best. It's not too tight, not too loose, moves very, very smoothly. I actually like this one. We've got a little resin part that the nut goes down inside. Put that on that side. Another little resin part that goes on that side. Another bolt, just like on the shoulder joint. It's going to go through there. Got my little hex wrench. We're just going to screw that in like so. Doesn't need to be too awfully tight, but works really, really well. And I got this little inner frame part that just sort of clips onto the side there. Doesn't need to support very much weight, so. And then we've just got a little bit of outer armor here. Well, actually, no, these parts connect right there. They don't stay on very tight though, so I'm more than likely going to have to just glue those on when I do final assembly. And the whole thing attaches to the shoulder joint like so. Now we do have some outer armor, and I haven't done any pinning, namely because a lot of these parts are really thin, and I think I'm just going to glue them together once I'm done painting. So this is the top, these are the sides. They go on just like that, and then you've got some more parts that, oops, that one goes on the side. Goes on like so. Just like that. You've got some little white vents that are going to attach down here. Again, I'll just glue those on at the end. This piece of armor goes on right there. That one actually stays put pretty well. And then this little handlebar up here attaches to the bluish gray part. It can move. And then you just fit everything together, and you will end up with a finished shoulder armor. The backpack has relatively simple construction. I've got these little, I'm not sure if these are propellant tanks or binders or what they are. Anyway, they got some inner frame detail, just a little bit. This part goes in here, this part plugs in here, like so. Got a little hole. I've drilled some holes and inserted some pegs. There's a joint that's going to go together like this, and then like this. And I got these two little bluish colored parts. Those will just plug into the sides. And then those pegs are going to plug right in there. Got this little top piece here. It's going to connect to the darker gray part. I can get it to line up. There we go. So it has like a little opening and closing mechanism, so you can show off a little bit of that inner detail. And then for the main part of the backpack, this is the center piece. Showed this part off in the resin building tutorial, part 1. It's got a little block that goes down right there. It's got a left and right half. This is the right half? Left half. Anyway, got another part, peg, hole, goes in like so. This bluish colored part plugs in at the top here. And then you've got an additional part right here that's going to go up inside. And there we go. This is where the thrusters are going to attach. It comes with some big metal thrusters. They're very, very loose, so those are going to have to be glued in. And then just plug it in. And I've already got some pegs up in there, so that plugs in there like so. And this part also has some little yellow resin parts that sort of go on like that, and obviously those are going to have to be glued in because they're not going to stay on. Anyway, other half of the backpack here, if I can get that pin to line up to the hole, anyway. There we go, just like that. And showed off the magnet trick in the resin building tutorial. Plugs in like so, and there you go. Okay, we're almost done. Now I'm going to put together the binders for the Nero trainer type. These things are actually pretty big. They do have a bit of an inner frame to them. Let's see. First off, I'm going to install this joint. I drilled a hole through there. I got this little hinge part right here. It's got a nut that goes in on that side, and a bolt that goes in through the other side. Make sure to line everything up properly. There we go. Then just use the hex wrench to screw that in. Alright, so that works like that, and that's just going to give us a little bit of maneuverability when we attach it to the shoulder joint. Let's see, got this little detail bit. I pinned that to the top there. This part was going to be really difficult to pin, so I just installed a tiny little magnet, and it just holds it in place like so. We got some aluminum part, well, an aluminum part, that actually forms the little hydraulic here. Got two resin parts that go on each side of it, and then we just attach those to the underside there. Make sure they line up properly. Okay, there we go. Looks good. Then I'm going to go ahead and attach it to the underside right here. And we've got this piece of armor, and it just sort of clips in right there and stays in place of friction. And then we got one of these things right here. Again, just sort of holds in place of friction. Got this bluish piece that's going to connect up at the top, and this is obviously going to have to be glued in during final assembly. That's probably going to fall out a lot more. I'm just going to take it out. Next up are the thrusters, very large thrusters. These are plastic, not resin. And then we just got some connector parts. Let's see, how did I do this? Nope, that goes that way. Got a very long pin that's just going to go all the way through that and connect to that part, like so. Then we do the same thing on the other one. Connects to it just like that, and then those just get connected down inside there. I don't know, sometimes it's easier to do this before you put the armor on, and sometimes it's easier to do it after you put the armor on. It's just kind of finicky. There's not really a easy way to do it, but it eventually all goes on, and you have a very nice, very detailed set of binders for Nero trainer type. And last but not least is the beam rifle. There's the main body of the beam rifle right here. I've basically got everything pinned together. I got this blue block that's going to go in like that. This top part goes on here. And I've inserted a couple pins right there for the handle to fit into, so that's nice and snug and secure. And the hand is permanently attached. It's actually molded onto the handle of the beam rifle. Kind of wish it wasn't, but what are you going to do? Got a little hand backing armor that's just going to go on like that. The barrel just pins in like so. This back part pins in like so. There we go. And oops, hit the camera again. I said I wasn't going to mess with the electronics. This is actually the part of the electronics that didn't mess up. So, got a light inside the beam rifle. The only thing about it is that the wires, you can see what I was talking about, the wires that G-System gave us are just entirely too long. Like, they're way too long. And it's just sort of having a hard time fitting everything together. But, like, if you take the time to actually like cram these wires down inside this little crevice here, then you can get it to fit together. The only bad part about the beam rifle, or the scope to the beam rifle rather, is that like these parts are so thin because they're hollow for the LEDs and stuff. There's nowhere to like insert any pins or anything, so all this is going to have to be glued together, and I really don't want to glue that together because then I won't be able to change out the battery, because there's a battery right there. But I don't know, there's no telling. Anyway, it's got this little armor part that goes on the top there. It's got another resin piece that goes on top of the switch, and then that just pins onto the side of the beam rifle like so. So it's sort of hanging out and goofy looking right now, but when it's done, it's supposed to look like that, even though right now it looks like that. Oh, and this thing goes on the back here. Okay, so I have finally gotten the entire Nero test fitted and standing on 2 feet. It's pretty fragile at this point. He's not really, well, I mean, he's posable, but I'm not going to move him around at this point because he's just sort of standing there, and that's about all I can do. I'm not going to bother like with the Nero trainer parts. Basically it's just different shoulders with those binders on them, and then it's got red parts instead of blue parts for the torso and the feet. At this point I am going to disassemble this guy, start painting, and right now I'm really pleased with how it's turned out. I'm actually very pleased with my cleanup, and very, very pleased with the way the Nero looks so far. So I can hardly wait to get it painted, because I'm going to change up the colors a little bit, but I'll talk more about that in the next video. And I can honestly just hardly wait to get this guy glued together, because I know once I get everything glued together it's going to be a lot more sturdy, and I'm not going to have to be so nervous about having him just standing here. Whew, so that does it for this work in progress video, and the next one I'm going to cover the painting of the kit, and hopefully that'll be the last work in progress video. I may do a additional work in progress video for like the weathering. I don't know. I don't plan on doing a lot of weathering on this kit, not very much at all, just some very, very light weathering. So yeah, I'm going to try my best to cram everything into the next work in progress video and have them finished by the end of that one. So that about does it for this, and with that, I'll see you guys next time.